This is nothing but that sports talk.
Yeah, this is a continuation of nothing but that sports talk from when we talked about the Brittney Griner situation and the death of Bill Russell and Vince Scully. But Ryan Walker, glad you got time to jump on the show because I understand you have a busy day.
It's so hectic right now. Just came from doing those games and running around all day, work, both jobs. So here now tonight. So we just had to. It was just a little busy in the desk area. So I said, let me wait till it gets cleared up a little bit. But I caught you also a little bit. It's good though. But it's pretty sure it's a busy day for everybody. Busy. It's been a busy week too. You know that, Rafique. I've been all over the place.
Yeah, I could only imagine. But before we get to the street ball involvement that you had this week, I want to get your take on everything that happened with the Brittney Griner situation, as she is locked up for 9 years in Russia after being found guilty of drug charges.
You know, it's tough. It's sad, man. You know, it's it's very unfortunate. You know, I wish Britt wasn't. You know, not. I don't say I don't wish Britt was there because you know, we can travel to where we want per se as long as we get the jurisdiction. I just wish she probably would have made a better decision on, doing that, because it's unfortunate because now she's in that position. United States and Russia. That they're kind of. I mean that's not going to work, and the demands that they were asking for, we weren't going to, lie down with it, whatever they were asking for, and it's just unfortunate, and it's just really a sad situation with Brittney Griner. That's something that a lot of people were talking about today with the sentencing and per se. So it's sad. What else can you really say?
Yeah, exactly. What else? I mean, want to hear Aya's thoughts on that? You just got to wait because I know she's obviously tired of talking about the Brittney Griner situation.
True. It feels like the longest day in sports world that I've ever witnessed for sure. Because that news, I couldn't even focus on a game. All I had to focus on is a Brittney Griner situation, because I've been watching Brittney Griner since I was 13 years old, in my city, and then seeing one of my favorite players going through this. It's just really, really heartbreaking. I'm like, it's just really wrong. The way Russia has given treatment to Brittney Griner after leading UMMC Ekaterinburg, the team she played for, to 4 EuroLeague titles and in a dynasty of Russian league championships, and seeing a country screwing it up for her is really wrong. That is just really, really bad. This is a sign for players that they should not go to Russia ever again after what they have done to BG, and especially with the invasion of Ukraine, they're not going to have as much money as they used to. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, this is a tough week. I mean, one of the most serious episodes I've done since Kobe Bryant passing away in 2020. Seriously.
I know how heavy the hearts are right now in the sports world of Brittney Griner situation, and then I am so sorry if I had to bring that up. In the NFL Network, when they were talking about Ian Rappaport, they were making jokes related to the Brittney Griner situation. It's just really, really wrong. Why would the NFL Network do this? I'm oh my god, this is just really, really wrong. Seeing people making fun of the Brittney Griner situation, laughing at it because she protested the national anthem and stuff, that is just really, really wrong. Seeing people make false narratives about Brittney Griner, protesting the national anthem. They say that she hates America and stuff, but she had to protest for police brutality and the Black Lives Matter movement, which is really, really important. And not to mention that her dad participated in the Vietnam War as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you what I told Aya earlier, I was on a couple of Zoom calls with Christina Williams. It was not really Zoom calls, but Spotify green calls with her, and she expressed the devastation, frustration, along with Miles Ehrlich and a couple other sports fans and media professionals, just hearing how upset they are about Brittney Griner being detained.
Honestly, I couldn't imagine I couldn't imagine if there was a documentary about Brittney Griner in the future. I would be tearing up a lot if there was a documentary about Brittney Griner, and it would give me flashbacks to this year right now because it's just really, really heartbreaking for BG to go through. And then I don't want the trauma to cause a family. Like it's just really, really bad. It's just really scary. You
But
see,
that's why
like,
that's why that's why with BG's situation, I just wish it's unfortunate. No, she shouldn't be in. We want her back. We want to make sure she's good. But we as Americans, I was born in Toronto, Canada, been living in America since 1987. So, as a New Yorker, as an American, you just got to just know the United States and Cuba are not the greatest of friends. You understand what I'm saying? The United States and Russia, the United States, there's certain countries or nations that we're not on good terms with. And if you go there, you have to be extremely prudent and walk the finest lines in order to make sure you can come back. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's just like the United States and Vietnam, that's never probably ever going to be, you just spoke about the Vietnam War, right? The United States and Vietnam are never going to be on good terms, especially after the whole ordeal in the 1970s. And that's something that, as a tourist, if you ever were going to Vietnam, you should be very prevalent of. You should do the basic and the norm in regards to traveling. You shouldn't go out extra because it's just the reality of things. Now, that's why I just wish that she wouldn't have made that decision to do that per se, because that's the only thing that they're gonna cling to. And then this is the other dynamic, and I'm just bringing up the actual truth. The United States as a country, our country that we love, nobody will watch this and say I'm unpatriotic. We've done things to many other countries and nations over our time as well too. So when we do slip up for like a situation like this, they make sure they make an example the same way how we do it if we were on those same realms. That's why we can't put ourselves in position. So yes, as sad as it is, Brittney, you're in Russia, you get caught with drugs, and that's not a country that we par well with. They're probably going to make you an example, or they're probably going to ask for the absolute most in order to you say, yeah, we'll let this slide. And that's exactly what they did. And the United States didn't want to par on it, which I understand. And now she's paying the consequence of serving 9 years in Russia, which is probably like 100 years.
0.5K fine. And I just wanted to point out, and Brittney Griner said that Griner, like so many players who have protested before her, made clear that her protest doesn't have anything to do with the military. She said, I don't mean that in any disrespect to our country. My dad was in Vietnam and a law officer for 30 years. I wanted to be a cop before basketball. And plus, I do have pride for my country. Just wanted to make a clarification.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? Remember 2 years ago when the WNBA and the NBA players they all put their foot down and said we're not going to play for a couple of days after a shooting that happened.
Jacob Blake.
Jacob Blake got shot.
Yes.
Oh yes, I definitely remember that. Like when I remembered when
they had that mentality in the press conference today.
Oh yeah, I remembered when the Atlanta Dream and Washington Mystics players, like when they had shirts that said Jacob Blake, and they show like how important it is to focus on these stuff rather than basketball. That's what it reminds me of today, like with Brittney Griner, like when they show solidarity, and especially honoring Breonna Taylor, like say her name on the back of the jerseys. Like if you guys remember that.
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah, we all remember. Now, on to the next topic, Ryan, I want to get your thoughts on the passing of Bill Russell.
Oh my goodness, that's tough for the basketball community. It's like He's the most winningest player in NBA history. The man who I believe he's the MVP trophy of the finals is named after him now, per se, right? In the last few years. And just a phenomenal human being, a phenomenal person for the culture, especially for us as African Americans as well too. So for that's a sad one because Bill dropped so much knowledge and is the most winningest player ever in the NBA history. And with that one going right there, it's really sad. But he's an angel. He's still looking over everybody, making sure it's good. But that was very tough for the NBA community. It's been tough in general, like we just said. We just talked about the BG situation and Bill Russell passing away this week. So there, when there's sun, the rain is still falling, and those are two situations this week that it's a tsunami.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we're talking about one of the most dominant rim protectors during his time, like in the 1950s.
Yeah, player coach at one time after I believe was that Red Auerbach for most of those championships, and then Red sat down and he player coached him to 2 championships, and just his knowledge, his smartness, and intangibles of the game, and that's no longer here. So but like I said, the Angel has nowhere left. We lost a lot of really interesting human beings in the NBA. David Stern, a few years. Bill. There's been a lot of big time leaders in the game that unfortunately not here anymore.
Yeah, unfortunate indeed. I mean, you being a former basketball player during your time, you probably. I mean, have you ever had a chance to check out any of Bill Russell's highlights?
Oh yes, you see. I mean, there's only show you only see so. I mean, the stuff that we can archive won't really be able to tell his impact, even though we see and we know how great he was from the clips or whatever from the 1950s and the 1960s. But without a doubt, if you have a sharp eye, you clearly see how much of a great rebounder he was, shot blocker, phenomenal, very intense, consummate winner. You can't go against Wilt Chamberlain like that so many times in those years. And for Wilt Chamberlain being so dominant, one of the greatest centers and debatable, one of the greatest players to play and have so much success, Celtic good teams or not, because that guy with Wilt was just by far a paragon. And he competed with this guy for years and won several championships. So that says a lot about Bill Russell, and that's definitely a huge loss for the basketball community.
Definitely the loss indeed. And to transition into another loss, Vince Scully passed away at age 94.
Yes, which is, like I said, even when the sunshine comes out, it still rains. And I don't know how much more on the women's and the men's side of basketball in general can we probably foresee to deal with at the end of this week. Hopefully that's the end for this week, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean, Vince Scully, he was a phenomenal announcer. I mean, I remember listening to him in 2006 when the Dodgers came from behind to beat the Padres.
Yes.
This guy's voice was so incredible.
It's phenomenal.
He was a one-man band on the broadcast booth. I mean, and a year later, when I was in LA watching the Dodgers take on the Philadelphia Phillies, I'm like, how is this man doing the announcing and analysts on his own?
Just incredible work ethic and just incredible talent.
And being a journalism student, former journalism student yourself at HBCU, what have you learned from listening to this man?
Oh, I mean, Vince is definitely one of the guys, for any, like you said, any HBCU or anybody that's into journalism, for HBCU wise, you're gonna know about him. You're gonna hear about that name. It's like small. It's like not knowing who Ed Bradley is. You for that part of the game, you're going to to see his impact and the different spectrums of sports that he was ever able to cover and still be in depth with. So, how many more losses can we fathom for the rest of this week?
That's pretty much all. Yeah, that's pretty much all I could say. I mean, again, this is one of the most serious series of episodes that I've ever done ever since Kobe Bryant passed away, because we're talking about individuals that either died or got wrongfully detained. Oh,
Correct.
It feels like the longest week in sports world. Like, truth be told, like the passing of Bill Russell and Vince Scully, two of the most iconic sports legends, and especially the heartbreaking news of Brittney Griner feels like the longest week it has been in the sports world. Like, not gonna lie, it's just like really, like it's really heartbreaking to see Brittney Griner get 9 years in prison. Like, after going to Russia, after being caught with vape cartridges. Like, there are some fans on Twitter that I've seen, like how sickening it is to detain an athlete over a vape pen. It's just really, really bad. It's just really scary. I wish WNBA players wouldn't have to go overseas, because of the pay inequity in the United States, they are forced to play overseas. And teams pointed out that they had to play to build up to the game, but there should be times to consider that it's really important for them to take some time off from basketball to spend time with their beloved ones, so they don't have to put themselves at risk of thinking that it could have been one of them, like it happened to BG. That's what I wanted to point out.
yeah. All right, on to some street ball news. Just to end this episode on a positive note, as you had Dykeman and Lincoln managed to move on to the next round in the New York versus New York playoffs. Thoughts, Ryan?
Oh man, it was great. It was phenomenal in the park that day. Phenomenal postseason games. Great environment. Master P showed up there. Of course, his son played on the Tri-State team. Jose Alvarado, who of course has been in New York all week, played at Pro City, played at Dykeman last night when we were there, and and also like I said, showed up for New York Classic to represent and just give back to the community and show everybody. So it was Lincoln Park was a success. It was a hit. All the top reps were there. Dykeman, of course, like you said, played West 4th in the first game. It was very shaky at first. Dykeman was both teams, a lot of turnovers, very sloppy, feeling each other out. Good teams, a lot of good defense. But eventually, slowly but surely, Dykeman edged back into the game and just found a way to pull away at the end. Sean Vulture, the kid from Zavarian, big plays for them at the end, steals, layups and free throws. The kid Brandon is going to Christ the King. Phenomenal, did a very good job. The guys all keyed in. So Dykeman was fortunate to get a victory in advance, and that's the goal, just win in advance. In the first one, and in the nightcap, of course, Lincoln Park played. Big Queens, and Queens is definitely in the house to represent for that. They played against Tri-State with Mousy and the gang, and then Mousy brought out some top kids. They had the kid Caleb Foster, who will be going to Duke University very shortly. He also had oh Lord, who else was playing on that team? The kid, oh Lord, he had like 2 or 3 kids, and it will come to me in a second. That was really, really good. He brought out the bag, but Lincoln Park was still able to prevail. They had the kid Bully, of course, Zaire Wells from Coney Island. TJ Morris was probably the player of the summer in New York with another big time highlight dunk play. And Lincoln Park was good with the victory in the end. They won by like 10 or 14 points. They eventually pulled away. It was one of those type of games. So now that makes Dykeman and Gersh in the Final Four this Tuesday coming up at Gersh Park, a rematch of the first 2-year finals and a rematch of the semifinal contest 2 years ago in Achievements High School. So Dykeman and Gersh will play, and Gersh beat them in the regular season this season. So Dykeman's, am I saying that right? Dykeman lose to them? So, no, did Dykeman lose to Gersh or did they lose to Tri-State? I believe it's Tri-State. But this is the rematch. And that'll be a big one. That's going to be the last game, of course. They're going to make sure Dykeman and Gersh play last this Tuesday coming up at Gersh Park. Lincoln Park will play Watson. So, you got Bronx versus Queens and Uptown versus Brooklyn. And that'll be very interesting for Tuesday in the park. So that covers the NY Classic side. And, Dykeman has been really good. Jim Jones and who else? Fabulous, Mano. Guys was at Dykeman last night. They did their video shoot, but it was great games. Jose Alvarado played out. A lot of really good games. Their Skull Gang was there. The 9 played. Good games for the street tournament. And as we see, Pro City has a lot of the pros coming out. Julian Champagny, who will eventually be a pro, had a big-time game. Alvarado, a lot of guys that did well there. And saying with us for crunch time announcing, and our regular season ends on Sunday, and we're going into playoff mode next week. So on the 21st will be our championship. So it's just so much going on right now, and it's all coming to an end in these next 3-4 weeks. But it's definitely going to be a whirlwind, and that's a mouthful because there's been so much going on the street ball circuit.
Not to mention, I got to see Nikki Avery's team dominate Imani's team at Gersh. Well, not really Gersh Park. It's actually at an indoor gym, but I got to see them smoke them out of the water, showing Imani why Avery is a point guard. God, that girl is talented.
Yo, come on, and we talked about it I'm glad you brought that up too, because we all watched the New York City point guards, and we also remind ourselves with Nikki Bowdy there and Shannon Bobbitt, and I know our young lady we have on there too can attest for how solid Shannon and Nikki was, and just killers on the basketball court, and it was just phenomenal to see them showcase those young ladies as well too in their impact of the game. But now I'm in street ball right now, men's and women's circuit, and also have to remember that the ladies side of the NY Classic will start too as well, where they'll have one game, I believe, at Uptown Challenge on 130th Street and 5th, and they'll have their championships. I believe I don't know if there's also Millbank will have games, but they have the championship at Rucker as well, where everybody will have the championship on August 13th. So the ladies are on their side too. Their tournament will be more of a quick one, bing, bing, bing elimination and the championship day in one day. But it's good to see the Lady Parks have an opportunity as well too.
Man, I mean, it's kind of tough to squeeze in the ladies edition like this late in the season. But you know what? You gotta do what you gotta do to make it work. Hopefully they can have it more fleshed out.
Yeah, I think usually they've been fortunate for the years before the pandemic where they would have them have at least like 3 regular season games. You know what I'm saying? And then have their postseason. I don't think that the way the setup is, and they still have the Rose Classic and then their live periods. I don't know if it could work out like that. So they did like this. So it seems like the one day is just going to be like a accumulation of games where they play. And eventually one of those games will be deciding games like, listen, these are the games where you're moving on or advancing. And then that will dictate, because they only have 2 site days. So that means the second day, of course, where Rutgers will be a championship. And they'll figure it out because, Lincoln Park, I believe, has a team. Watson had a team. Dykeman had a team. Yeah, Tri-State had a team. And the girls will get out there and compete and see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens from there. And I know you said you weren't also talking about basketball, but we gotta get some news as the New York Liberty have won 3 straight and 4 in the last 5. We said a couple weeks ago that the Liberty were done, and all of a sudden they managed to squeeze out blowout wins. Sorry about this, Aya, against the Phoenix Mercury and back to the Sparks. With the yes,
well, the way the New York
they came back, got the beat down 20. Oh man, this Liberty.
Honestly, the LA Sparks are a mess. We don't really know they are. Like the way Liz Cambage left the team, I wonder how Liz Cambage is doing. Like she's eating all the popcorn while watching the Sparks downfall. Okay, and the way the New York Liberty fought hard against the Sparks team, like they came back from being down 20 to winning by 3, which is like, I know it like gave you guys like a lot of anxiety like during the game, but it was really like great.
Not to mention
the
Xbox.
And also Rebecca Allen has been an X factor for the team.
Not to mention they bust out the Xbox cord. Sorry to interrupt you. What you saying, Maya?
Oh yeah. So I just want to mention like how New York Liberty getting healthy is like really huge right now at this second.
Yeah,
like,
that's key. I think that I mean, I'm on the record. I'm not gonna lie. I had no premonitions of them making a playoff run or even putting themselves in position, especially off the lack of the futility they've had over the last few years. It's hard to bet your mortgage money and say, yeah, they're going to kick it around and do this again when they've given you no premise to do so. But the biggest thing that is helping them now is that they're getting healthy and their players are there. And believe it or not, through this last 6 or 7 games and even winning in general, they're starting to get a little confidence. Like they're starting to believe. You know, Sabrina's playing at a really high level right now, and they're starting to believe and get healthy, and that's always key. Anytime your team is healthy, you always can have a chance to beat everybody if you got some good players on the team. I think that's their biggest thing. They still do not need to get too overexcited. This is the New York Liberty. They will do that and then lose 3 straight, and then you'll be like back to the drawing board.
You're making a good point here, Ryan.
We don't want that.
As a record fan.
Yeah, I don't
want that to happen. I do want them, you know, with New York, you know, we want them to do well, you know, be successful and see the growth. But I just don't also want us to get too happy and then
that's really important for sure.
Yeah, I think I would be more happy with them still playing well, win or losses, not go to the playoffs, but then grow for something that they can use on for next year anyway. Because I mean, unless they turn into the 1999 Knicks, they're probably not going to be that lower seed that goes to the WNBA Finals, right? They're not a Chicago Sky Buzzsaw team, right? Unless, I mean, if they do that, then you know Rafique can dance on 34th Street naked, and so probably never stop talking about the New York Liberty winning the WNBA championship. But them getting better and growth is more important to me than them going to the playoffs.
I definitely agree with you on that as a Mercury fan. Like, I know that they have a young roster that is set up for success in the future. And I really agree with the point you are making, which is really, really important. Like, there are like a lot of challenging matchups for the Liberty for the next few games, including the Dallas Wings.
You got the back-to-back Dallas Wings who managed to scratch up wins against Las Vegas Aces and the Chicago Sky. Oh yeah, and they have to take on your Phoenix Mercury next, Aya. Your Phoenix Mercury, and then Atlanta Dream with that in 2 nights.
Well, so here we go, Rafique and Aya. All right, so we said Rafique. We said they needed to go 5-2, right, in their last 7 games.
Yes.
All right. So they had Phoenix twice in this stretch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have somebody else twice, you had said.
The Dallas Wings and the Atlanta Dream.
Dallas. And they have Atlanta twice. Who's the other team that's a part of that 7? There's one odd team they have to play during. Is that the Sparks?
They played the Sparks already. They beat twice. They smoked them in first and Tuesday, and then they barely came back and beat them on Wednesday.
So they won
for the last 5 games.
They only have 1 loss margin error for what they're trying to do in order to do that. So they would probably have to hope to split with Dallas. That would be the most challenging one. But you know, they would have to sweep Atlanta and sorry, unless they have to get that one against Phoenix. Unless they're gonna Phoenix is gonna bite them back on their butt, and then they can find a way to sweep Dallas and Atlanta. Who knows? But that's gonna be interesting. It's always hard to beat a team twice in a short period of time. So now we have to worry about Phoenix's redemption, and then we have to find a way to beat Dallas, who's really damn good. right?
Dallas is on.
Yes.
Dallas is on
They
another
just
level, right?
won over the Las Vegas Aces tonight without Enrique by 2 points.
Correct. So, I mean, they're playing pretty solid, so now we have to find a way to beat them twice. That should be very fun. And unless Atlanta has Trae Young, I don't really care for the Dream are terrible. So that's the two games that you have to find a way to win. But the Dallas one, that'll be the challenge right there.
Yeah, I
agree with you on that.
Yeah, I told Christina Williams that the Dallas Wings, the Liberty, and the Mercury are going to get the final 3 spots. My prediction may come true.
Yeah, you're so far we'll have another one in 7 days to see how that one goes.
Yes, yes, we will. Oh man. Well, that's a positive news to end this episode. Nothing but that sports talk. Thank you for stopping by, Ryan and Aya, and I'm glad we finally got a chance to do this episode together again. So all the balls out there, get your head in the game.